Okay. Hello. Good morning. Let me stop. Let me force myself to stop. Stillness. I'm a very active spirit. I'm a very moving spirit. I don't like having to sit still for very long unless it's for a purpose. Hi. How are you? Thank you for joining. If you're new here, welcome. If you're not, I appreciate you for coming back. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. This is actually an impromptu video. I hadn't thought of making one of these today, but I'm on a walk and I was starting to think about some things, and I feel like when my thoughts get really intense, I just kind of have to share them in some capacity. And so here I am. One thing about it that you gotta understand, bro, is that time is an illusion. Like, sure, as humans, we adhere to the concept of time, and we understand time to be a very important thing. But in the grand scheme of it, it's an illusion, man. Like, and I say that because one of the things I was thinking about before I started recording is how I'm almost 30. I'm 28 years old. And I keep having people, and mind you, these people are supposed to be my support system. These people are supposed to be like there for me and like have my back, but whatever. I keep having people tell me that like I'm too old to be in the position that I'm in, that I shouldn't be living with my parents because of my age or some shit like that. And it's really funny because they said the same thing a few years ago, and it's just like, to me, a very obvious attempt at just trying to make me feel bad about myself. And once again, you're never too old to start something, to finish something, to do something. You know, you're never too old. Like, you could start at 63, 23, like 13. It doesn't matter, bro. And another thing, please don't ever take advice. Like, I feel like this is a pretty common sentiment now, but don't ever fucking take advice from people that you wouldn't want to live like. You know what I mean? Like, people who have no moral compass, people who have like no sense of self. It's like, why would I want to be like you? You consistently steal energy from other people. You don't know who you are. You ruin other people's good time because you're insecure with yourself. Like, why would I want to be like you? You know what I mean? And another thing, this might feel like a little personal. This might be a little personal, honestly, but I'm saying it in a way that is helpful to whoever's watching, because once again, I was just kind of having a conversation with myself, and I was just kind of ranting about certain things, and I was like, let me just get this energy out, let me make a video. So here we are. Made a really funny video on my TikTok yesterday. I was in the graveyard. It's technically a cemetery, but I was in here, and I was talking about how, like, if you align yourself with people who are losers, that makes you a loser. You know what I mean? Birds of a feather flock together. And if you are willingly joining forces with somebody who you have witnessed to be a loser, and when I say loser, I'm not trying to be funny, I'm not trying to be mean. Like, when I say loser, I mean a person who is a loser. Somebody who loses, somebody who thinks of themselves as a loser, somebody who continuously does loser things, like putting other people down, like, you know what I mean, misdirecting their energy, wasting their life force. You know, that's a loser to me, because you're wasting your life, you know what I mean? Like, life is not meant to be wasted. You're supposed to, like, do something with it, you know what I mean? Like, I guess I am in a cemetery. I could talk about how, like, this is literally proof of that. Like, a lot of these people, unfortunately, probably died without chasing their dreams, without achieving their dreams, right? And it's really sad. Sure, maybe they had children to carry that on, but, like, also, I don't know, like, every life is sacred. Every life has a purpose, I believe, you know what I mean? And a lot of people, unfortunately, get caught up in the matrix, get caught up in this world that we live in, and like forget what they're supposed to be doing. And, you know, they just do what everybody else is doing, or does what everybody else is telling them to do. It's really fucked up. Also, somebody was saying, and I kind of agree with this, but it's really scary to think that there would be people in the world who have their third eye open, who are connected to spirituality, and also consciously do bad things. You know, because I feel like, because they were saying, like, the misconception is that, like, when you develop your spirituality, when you awaken or whatever, you'll become more heart-centered and you'll become more loving. And they were saying that that's just not true. And, like, I'm not saying whether it is true or not in this moment. I'm just saying that this is a piece of information that I came across, and it definitely resonated with me, unfortunately, you know, because then it makes me think about all the people that I've encountered and all of the people who have done, like, not so great things to me, who have treated me unkindly. And it makes me wonder, like, could they really, like, be like fully awake and like still choose to be bad. Like I just don't, I personally can't understand that. And maybe that's just because I'm a good person. I cannot wrap my head around the idea of being aware of like the world at large and like the energetics of everything and still choosing to like fuck people over. But I guess that's why capitalism is so strong. I guess that's why competition energy is so strong, because people do exist that way. But yeah, I don't know, I think that's an interesting sentiment, like the idea that like becoming more conscious is not going to make you more good, you know. It's a really hard pill for me to swallow, I feel like, because once again, from my perspective, I'm like, as I've grown in awareness, I've tried to be more careful about how I impact others. You know what I mean? And it's like, it's really hard for me to wrap my head around like the idea of somebody having that same awareness and then choosing to do bad. Like, and I'm not talking about like, because we could talk about sin, like man-made sin, and talk about that, and that's something different. But like, I was talking about literally going out of their way to hurt people. You know what I mean? Like going out of their way to hurt people. Like going out of their way to disparage people, to make people feel uncomfortable, to make people feel afraid for whatever reasons. You know, because there's always a reason. People like to say, oh, they hurt me for no reason. There's always a reason, you know, whether it was for personal gain, whether they wanted to see you cry or whatever the fuck, you know. Also, shout out to the Burtons. And just real quick, I don't mention them a lot, but I was walking through here one time and I kind of spotted this tombstone and I was like, oh, that looks cool. And like subconsciously I just kind of gave an offering or whatever, and then like eventually I came back to the spot because I walk here all the time, and I don't know, I wasn't thinking about that offering when I had the idea, but like, you know what I mean, the subconscious is crazy sometimes. I was walking past it and I thought to, you know, I was interested in the numbers, like the dates, and I was like, I wonder what ages they were. So I used ChatGPT to kind of like see what their dates were or what their ages were. And after that, they suggested if they could write a story for me based off of that information that I gave them. And so I was like, sure, let's do that. And so I gave them a couple points, a couple factors, and then we made this story, and it was like a whole series that I did on my Patreon. And I didn't edit it really. I might have edited it a tiny bit, but generally it was just completely, you know what I mean? And so I posted that as like a series on my Patreon over time. And personally, I thought it was a really nice story. It was a really touching story. There was a lot of sentiments, a lot of emotional elements, a lot of lessons, life lessons and stuff. And yeah, so that was just, I don't know, just oh my gosh, there's a huge spider web. Yeah, look at that, bro. Can you see that? Can you fucking see that? Oh my god, it's coming to me. I don't know if you can see that. You can kind of see the, oh my god, that's huge, bro. Right there. Right there. You see that? He's beautiful. Oh my god, your house is amazing. I'm gonna walk past you though. Oh my fucking goodness. What I also feel called to talk about, low-key, which I haven't talked about too much. I've talked about it on different platforms here and there, but like intrusive thoughts. You know, like, because I experienced them. And sometimes I use them for humor. Sometimes you know what I mean? Sometimes I ride the wave and I'm like, haha, that's so funny, right? Oh my god. But it can be very troublesome for some people, you know what I mean? Just having unnecessary thoughts, undesirable thoughts just flash through your head, you know what I mean? And I don't know, also being a person who identifies as like psychic, that's also something that I've kind of had to like, you know what I mean, mentally work around, because like, am I creating this energy, or is this a prediction, or like, you know what I mean? Is this external energy, you know what I mean? And then that's where discernment comes in, like being able to know the differences between different types of energy and where it's coming from and what's the purpose and all that, you know what I mean? And like, I don't know, because if I could freaking speak, there's been this one thought that has been coming into my head on and off, and every time it comes in, I have to like fortify my mind. I have to be like, that is not mine. I do not want that. It is just a thought. It is just a passing thought, you know what I mean? Because back when I was first learning about all this stuff, manifestation and like being conscious and like being aware and all that, I remember that I did kind of struggle with that, like the spiraling, you know what I mean? And I've learned how to like ride the waves, you know, and how to redirect my thoughts. Sometimes I am a victim. Sometimes I do get victimized by that energy, but for the most part, I know how to direct my thoughts and like, you know, refocus, redirect, you know, instead of focusing so much on like, what if this all goes terrible? What if this happens? Just be like, okay, well, it hasn't yet. We're here now. I put in the effort. It's okay. You know what I mean? Like, you have to really learn how to redirect. And it's not necessarily about, I mean, it is, but it isn't. Depending on who you ask, they'll say different things, but like, I don't think it's necessarily about 100%. I'm getting pushback. Hold on. I tuned into my spirit and whatever, and it definitely seems like what I was about to say is a little bit inaccurate, at least. Because I was gonna say it's not 100% about controlling your mind, controlling your thoughts, but actually, in all honesty, it really is. And like, you know, everybody has different challenges. Everybody has different obstacles, internal obstacles, external obstacles. Everybody has their own issues to face, you know what I mean? So like, there's no one size fits all. I can't be like, oh, well, you just have to redirect your thoughts, because for some people that might be a little bit more difficult, you know what I mean? Like those people with like those really intense thoughts, like the schizophrenic people and stuff like that. Like, I can't speak for those people. Ooh, a quarter. Oh my goodness, time to shine a quarter. What year is it? Yeah, as if it matters. What year is it? What are you? 2019. Oh, that's boring. But yeah, so I hope the audio is okay. Thankfully, it's not super windy. But I realized with the last video that I recorded with this, that when I'm moving, it sometimes kind of makes the sound. So I'm sorry if that's a factor. I don't often use this phone to record long form videos. Look at that sky though, bro. Isn't that beautiful? I do have to, oh, my alarm's going off. Oh, hopefully the alarm on this phone doesn't go off, because that'll interrupt the fucking video. Fucking Jesus, I forgot about that. I think I have all my alarms off on this phone. I don't know. But I have to often come back to self-appreciation when things get hard, when things get tough. You know what I mean? Because I feel like sometimes when life gets hard, it's really easy for us, and this is probably the objective of those challenges, to kind of get us down, to get us out of our faith. But like, it's really easy for when life gets hard for us to get hard on ourselves, you know what I mean? And I talking mostly for myself, I'm very hard on myself. You know what I mean? Like, if I really shared with you guys like all of the things that are going through my head and all of the things that I'm kind of low-key worried about, I feel like you would be like, you would like have a little bit more respect for like this, like the way that I do present. Because I don't know, I imagine, and I don't really care how people feel, but for the most part, but like, I imagine some people look at my presentation and kind of think their own assumptions of like, oh, he thinks he's all that, or like and I was having this thought, actually. I was like walking over in this direction like yesterday, and I was thinking literally these thoughts. I was like, when I make it, when I get to where I'm trying to go, like, I most likely am going to be so freaking like cocky. And like, I was imagining myself having one of those interviews where I'm talking to somebody and I'm just like, you know, I'm just feeling good, and I'm proud of that. I don't care how anybody feels, you know. And I hope if you're listening that you also feel that way, you know what I mean? Because like, everybody deserves to feel good about themselves. Everybody deserves to feel like in love with life and like on top of the world at some point, you know what I mean? I think everybody deserves that, you know what I mean? And all my life I've been made to feel like I was small. All my life I've been made to feel like I was like nothing and like useless and all this stupid shit that isn't true. And so now I'm in my era. Now I'm in an energy where I can fully be myself and fully show up on myself and also be loved. So fuck you if you don't like it. I hope that you one day learn to love yourself and to appreciate yourself the way that you know what I mean? The way that I do. You know? Because, I mean, we could agree to disagree. You could feel however you feel. If you have that competition mindset, this isn't the video for you, I guess. But, like, we can all win. We can all get the bag. We can all be happy. And a lot of people have fallen prey to the distortions of this world, and they believe that that's not true. They believe that if they are winning, somebody else is losing. They believe that if they're losing, somebody else is winning. And, like, to some degree, once again, capitalism kind of makes it like that, but it's just like, that's because so many people buy into it. You know what I mean? When it comes to thought forms and beliefs and, like, rules of the reality, like, sometimes it's literally just because we buy into the belief. It's not because it's actually true. Like, the idea of money is only a thing because we buy into it. We collectively have agreed that this is the currency and that this is what we use to exchange value, you know. And if one day we stopped, we changed that, and we were like, no more of that paper shit, we're gonna do only digital, like, then that would be the norm, and that would just be that. It wouldn't be like anything crazy. It would just, that would be the. And if we wanted to change it to fucking cornflakes, you know how it used to be rice and like shit like that, like if we changed it to fucking cornflakes, and it would be fucking cornflakes, you know what I mean? And it might sound like a silly idea, but like, to me, the idea of using rice in modern times also sounds ridiculous, because we use rice so frequently now. But you know, at once upon a time, that's how it was. One thing that I was journaling about this morning, or like recently, was the idea of like how I'm trying to like keep my heart posture intact, you know, excuse me. And it's sometimes really hard, and I feel like this is the purpose of the Matrix. Sometimes it's really hard because people will be so malicious towards you, people will be so mean towards you, and like the protective part of you, like this is what I was journaling for myself. I was like, the protective part of me is like, I have love for everybody, bro, but like at the same time, this body is my body, this vessel is my vessel, and if you mess with it, I can't promise you that you're gonna have good results, you know what I mean? Like that's the sort of energy I feel like I carry. It's like, I have love for you, I want the best for you, but if you start messing with my equilibrium, if you start messing with my peace, I don't know if you're gonna be safe. I don't know if you're safe from the consequences of that, because you know what I mean? Because I'm just working so hard. I'm doing so much. I'm working with my team and like just doing all this stuff to secure myself and to make sure that things are Gucci. And you know, and then for somebody who ain't got shit going on in their life, who ain't trying to do shit with their life, you know what I mean? Trying to come at me, tell me that I'm not doing shit with my life. It's just like, really, bro? Really, dude? Like, once again, I want the best for everybody, but like, not at my fucking expense, you know? If your best is seeing me at my worst, then fuck you. Fuck you. I guess you'll have to wait next lifetime. I guess you have to wait next time to be happy, because, you know, and like, that's also a thing. Like, apparently, there are spiritual contracts where people kind of vow, like, as long as they're happy, or as long as they're happy, as long as they're sad, I'm happy, or whatever like that. And it's crazy to think about. Like, I was talking to a friend, and I like happened to see their lyrics. It wasn't like intentional, I don't think, but I happened to see their lyrics that they were writing, and it was giving Running Up That Hill by Kate Bush. And if you don't know that song, it's basically like, if only I could make a deal with God and get him to switch our places. And when you really look at the song, it feels almost like a spiritual request to destiny swap. And like, I don't know, it's really popular on the internet for people to be talking about destiny swapping, and I personally try to stay away from that topic. I do believe that it's real to some degree, whether it's conscious or not, but like, you know what I mean? And so I try to stay away from that topic, because I personally, my brand, I don't like feeling like a cuckoo. So I try to be very careful about the topics that I talk about on my pages, you know what I mean? So that's not something I generally talk about in depth, but it's definitely a thing, bro. And I don't know, the people who try to do it are the people who are literally going to end up living miserable lives, you know what I mean? Because it's like, one of the most important spiritual aspects, if you do any sort of research, is free will. Like, even the masters, even the ascended masters and all that, like, are said to like not really interfere with free will unless it is directly requested, unless you directly ask, like, hey, could you please stop me from doing it? Like, you know what I mean? Because even then, that wouldn't be a violation of free will. Like, if you actively say, I want this and I'm going to go after this, and somebody like takes it from you or something, that's a violation of free will, you know what I mean? Like, or prevents you from getting it, or like tries to force you not to get it, or forces you to do something else, you know, it's a violation of free will. And people who do that, what goes around comes around, you know what I mean? You're trying to take away somebody else's freedom, you're trying to take away somebody else's ability to choose, then guess what, bro? You're most likely not going to have that. You're not going to have the freedom of choice moving forward, you know, because what you put out is what you get back, you know what I mean? And if you're constantly putting out hate, constantly putting out malice, do you know what you're going to get back? Do you think you're going to get a cookie? Do you think you're going to get a cookie in return? I don't think so. I'm so sorry. You could probably get a cookie on the side, but that's not going to be the main course. I don't know. I don't expect my videos to do numbers. Like, I definitely have been getting more attention. I've noticed that. But I don't ever expect them to do numbers. So I'm going to say this in the hopes that, like, these people aren't watching me. But who knows? But like, I'm fully aware that my family is like jealous of me and like has some sort of like insecurities around who I am and all this shit. And it's really fucking sad because once again, I just want the best for everybody. Like, genuinely, I just want everybody to like have a good time and to like be successful and to enjoy their life. You know what I mean? But like, over time, I've really learned that, like, because like, also, I'm sorry, train of thought interruption, because also one thing I was thinking about, I was watching this video and this guy, and a lot of people were agreeing with him, which really pissed me off because I'm like, what are you guys talking about? You guys are stupid. He was basically saying that the idea of like not everybody deserves you at your best is kind of flawed and kind of non-Christ-like or whatever. He didn't really phrase it in that way, but I'm interpreting that way. He was basically saying it's not the best way to live, you know, because, and I agree to some degree, but because of the world that we live in, because of the contemporarity, is that a word? Contemporary nature of our reality, you do have to protect yourself. You do have to. Like, even when you look at the story of Jesus, to some degree, that's what happened. He was very loving, and like, unfortunately, the result was him getting killed. And you could look at it as a story of sacrifice. You could, but it wasn't a voluntary sacrifice. And that's the thing that a lot of people don't want to like admit. You know what I mean? Like, what, that doesn't even fucking make sense. All he was trying to do was be a loving individual. All he was trying to do was teach and enlighten. And you put him on the cross because you thought he was a fraud. And apparently he rose from the dead. Apparently, I'm not saying that is true, but you know what I mean? And it's like, so the moral of the story to me is to protect your fucking energy. Be loving, but be discerning. You know what I mean? Like, come on. And like, I wanted to reply, I wanted to put in the comments, but I was on my bigger page, and I try to be very careful about what I comment when I'm on my bigger account because I get more attraction there usually. And so I didn't say anything, but in my head I was just like, no, like, yes, but no, because like there is also a need for people to protect their love, protect their heart spaces, because there are people in the world, and honestly, I'm not judging, I'm not saying that this guy was, but like, honestly, I imagine he probably is one of those people that you have to watch out for. Because what do you mean, like, everybody deserves you at your best? No, because some people witness your best and they try to take advantage of you. They try to stomp on you. They try to snuff out your light. You know what I mean? And like, maybe this guy is just mediocre. Maybe he doesn't have a best that is actually the best. You know what I mean? I'm not saying that, but like, because I can't imagine somebody who is actually trying to do their best saying something like that. Because if you genuinely, at least from my perspective, if you genuinely are working towards being the best version of yourself, there are going to be people who try to pull you back, people who try to push you down, people who try to silence you and all this stupid shit. You know what I mean? And you should take it personal. Let's just focus on that part. We shouldn't take it personal. Like, I'm not whining and bitching about how people are unkind. Like, you shouldn't take it personal. But at the same time, be fucking real. Be fucking smart and know that you have to protect yourself. Be fucking smart and know that sometimes you have to navigate in a certain way to not get fucking killed. You know? Shout out to Jesus. Like, what the fuck? And apparently, today's the 23rd. Apparently, a lot of people are saying that the rapture is happening today, which I think is really funny. And it's also funny astrologically because we are in eclipse season, and I think today is like the turn of an astrological energies or whatever. I don't know. I haven't been keeping up too much with astrology, only for the sake of the Patreon and like sometimes giving information sometimes, but I don't think it's super necessary to be in touch with astrology to know what's going on. So, but yeah, people be shiesty. And if you are genuinely a person who has a big heart and you're actually aware of yourself and you're actually aware of what's going on around you, you will probably agree with me that no, sometimes you do have to protect yourself. Sometimes you do have to guard yourself and act like a bitch. You know what I mean? And some people aren't going to understand, but that's fucking okay because those aren't the people for you. And the thing about it is, like, you might have heard it already, but like, the people who are actually meant for you are not going to make you feel bad about yourself. At least not on purpose, at least not intentionally. You know what I mean? And at least, most likely, they will take accountability for hurting you. Like, they won't sidestep and be like, oh, I didn't mean to, you're just sensitive. Okay, I'm gonna just not say anything to you ever because you're so sensitive. No, the people for you are not gonna do that. The people who are genuinely in your soul, like aligned with your soul, aligned with your spirit, are not gonna make you feel bad about like how you naturally show up. They might call you out on toxic behaviors. They might tell you that you're not doing well or something like that, and that's out of love. But like, they're not gonna just, you know, like, that's just not how that works. quite honestly, I think there's like too few people who actually have good people in their corner. You know what I mean? Because, and I don't know. Partially, it's probably because most people aren't very good people, so they don't really know what to look out for. They don't know how to behave. You know what I mean? And because there's also that theory that we're living in hell, and this is a hell dimension. And I'm not saying that that's true, but that is a theory that people say. And according to that, it would make sense that you wouldn't really, you know what I mean? I don't know, that's kind of, I went on a tangent with that one. If you are still watching this, I appreciate you so much. If you enjoyed this, if you got anything out of this, please do both of us a favor and engage with the video. Give me a like, make sure you subscribe, and let me know what you think. And stay groovy, stay hydrated, and remember, no storm lasts forever. Jesus does love you. You know, I know it doesn't always feel that way, but you are loved. You know what I mean? You wouldn't be here if you weren't. And what else? My alarm just went off again. Nothing else to say. Have a nice rest of your day. Bye.